Good morning. Morning, Mike Whaley and Joe Paddock. And everybody else that's not in a diabetic coma from eating too much candy last night. The day after Halloween sugar hangover. How was everybody this morning? So, as the description says, it's time. Today is release day, public release day for the VSV, the two-door version. So that's what we're gonna do today. Is we're gonna upload it to Thingiverse. Meeting day. That's always fun. I don't miss meetings. It's one aspect of when I was the lead developer, PHP developer, that I do not miss. Sitting through meetings with clients. And going through that whole, we want you to build a website for us. Well, what do you want on the website? Well, what do you think the website should have? Well, what are your needs? Well, what do you think our needs are? So you want us to just build a website that's just going to work for you without knowing any real specifications because you have no idea what you want. That's great. So many people want websites and have no idea what to put on them. Alrighty. So let's see. Let's get this up. Slide this over here. Good morning, Matt Johnson. Hope you are doing well today. In this here in Clarksville, Tennessee, warm but very, very wet day. It's raining like crazy out there. Mad Mike. Good morning, sir. Video output low. My stream health sucks right now. And I don't know why. Well, that means I'm probably in for it for a while then. Because if it's raining all the way down there in Alabama and raining up here in Clarksville. John, good morning, sir. Well, hopefully the stream looks okay because my stream health sucks right now. It's in the red. And if we get disconnected because this computer is shutting itself down for no apparent reason, more and more, I will fire it back up as soon as I get the chance. It don't rain too much in Arizona. Video output low. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. And I don't know what to do about that. Guess it is what it is. We'll do the best we can. And that's all you can do. For slicing, Kira 3.4.1. I haven't tried 3.5.1 yet. I did try 3.5, but in 3.5, support materials were fusing to my models, so I went back to 3.4.1. Haven't tried 3.5.1 yet. Oh, getting everything set up and ready to start uploading. Yeah, I haven't gotten to the bottom of the printing infill outside of the walls yet, but I haven't printed anything else since I discovered it doing that yesterday. I don't know if it's because I'm using a CR10 profile for the Tornado, or if it's because by default it was using the triangular infill, which I've never used before. So I switched that up. The next file that I slice will be back to the infill I'm used to. And I adjusted some of my wall settings and overlap settings. I just haven't had a chance to slice anything and test it yet. But I'll get there. I will. I have faith. My broken. So yeah, everybody have a happy and safe Halloween last night. Gave out about $26 worth of candy last night. I had forgot to buy candy until like 3:30 yesterday. So I ran to the Dollar General down the street and bought like 5 bags of candy. And was giving 2 pieces each to every kid that came to my door, and then ended up getting to shut my light off because I was pretty much out around 8 o'clock. But they started ringing my doorbell at like 4:30. Alright, so we need Thingiverse open. And we'll go to the screen share. Here we are on Thingiverse. Upload a thing. And then I need to move that down for a second. Move that over here. Where is VSV, the two-door. Let's do it this way. Drag those files there. 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 And there. Thing name. 1/18 scale. Jeep. VSV. Variable. Support. Vehicle. Two-door. Base model. I always forget which category this goes in. Toys. Play sets. Models, vehicles. There we go. Attribution non-commercial. .1/18 scale. Action figure. Playset. Vehicle. Summary, which I can't see the chat right now, I'm sorry. There we go. Morning, Don. I don't have Tom Llama's email address either. Guess I could have wrote it down when he posted it yesterday, in case I ever needed it, but I did not. 1/18 scale Jeep for 4-inch action figures. This is the two-door version. Base model. Our upgrade kits coming soon. For early access. To vehicle models. Upgrade kits and more. I won't bother with that. Morning, Chris. Coffee time. Coffee time. I'm going to check it as a work in progress because it always changes. Designed in Blender. Before we publish, let's save and view. Files. No, I do not want the accessory light to be the first thing that shows up. How about alright, so we need to edit this because the accessory light for some reason is showing up. Oh, that's because that's the only files that are already ready for. I have to give that a minute. Front clip the first thing. Save and view. They're getting previews on more of the stuff. Morning, Rodney. Thanks for joining, man. I don't know if I've caught you over in one of my streams before. But glad to have you. Front and rear clip up top, so they should, as the preview becomes available. There we go. Put that up there, because that's more interesting. The doors down here. Interior. Steering wheel. Wheels. Some more interesting parts up top. Save and view. Let's see if it's. There we go. Publish thing. Let's just do it. Publish. And then I will post to make. description. Printed. At 0.2 millimeter layer height. Across multiple machines. Supports are necessary. Assembly and gluing required. Rafts. No, I did not use a raft. Supports, yes. Fill 20%. Save view. All right. So the VSV should be live here. It has a thing number now, so copy that. And anybody in the chat that wants to go find it, there it is. So the Jeep is now available to the public. I've been printing the guard shack. And so I put together a little scene this morning and snapped a picture and put it on Twitter. There's the guard shack. Still need to print the door for the guard shack. I tried printing the door yesterday, but I wasn't paying attention when I sliced it and forgot to add supports. So I got this. Whoops. It's amazing that the printer recovered and printed as much of as it did. I need to take a picture of that and share that with the JTOG stream, because the thing that they're wanting is to see people's print failures for their stream next Monday. And I'd say that's a pretty spectacular one. All because my dumb butt forgot to put supports. Yeah, it did kind of have it kind of felt like Halloween on it, you know. But yeah, plenty of shameless self-promotion going on in this picture since I put my dumpster in there and the VSV. But so yeah, this is the guard shack that you guys have been seeing on the starting screen for a while. I finally got around to printing it. I had a couple nasty layer shifts on the gray pieces here, but it was workable. So I was like, I'm not gonna bother reprinting it. I can still test what I want to test on it, and I just had to cut out some of the spots where it overhung some, where it the layer shift caused it to overhang in here. I just had to take the side cutters and cut those out so that the arm would move up and down. But yeah, the arm moves up and down. the layer shift caused me not to be able to slide the yellow pylons there through the body like I was supposed to be able to. So, because I cut it apart as a multiple piece model. If you go download it on Thingiverse, this is one solid piece. But I cut it apart because I wanted to print, because I don't have a cool multi-material machine and I didn't want to paint it to make myself a multi-piece deal. So instead I had to just hot glue them in place because they would not pass through the holes with all the layer shifts, and there was no way to clean that out because the holes weren't even round anymore. But all in all, I think it made a nice little picture. Nice little diorama picture. Morning, TrueTech. So the VSV is live. It can be downloaded on Thingiverse now. And it's already happening. Don and Mad Mike have already added to their things to make list. He did, John. He did. He got on Twitter. It's crazy. See how the analytics are going. We have 18 downloads and 20 views today. The VSV's already been downloaded 12 times. Awesome. So with the guard shack essentially done, I need to order some white filament. And actually, skip that. Next Tuesday I'm going to be in St. Louis. I'm going to stop at Micro Center. I'll just pick up some white filament while I'm there. Yeah, John. Yeah. Morning, Bob. I don't know why I keep this little benchy sitting here, and I just, when I'm like bored, I always mindlessly reach for it and pick it up, and it just, that's the benchy I printed on the S4. And now I got 5 more benchies in many, many colors, thanks to Chris Riley. Yeah. One of these days I'll get myself a multi-material machine of some kind, and then I can print stuff without like taking it apart to get it in multiple colors. But it's neither here nor there at this point. All right, John. Trolling for dollars, John. Have a safe trip to work, man. And You Do It John is no longer here. He's back to work. But yeah, I'm going to stop at Micro Center because I need to get it. I already got approval from the CFO to buy a new computer. I'm like, yes, yes. So I'm probably going to do it there. That's the hardest part of the battle, is getting approval from the CFO. I was showing yesterday the one I'm looking at is this one right here. That's right at the top of my budget that I was given, but I've changed some settings. I haven't printed anything yet to find out if they worked. I will do that today. But yeah, when I stop in Micro Center, if they've got this computer still available, I think that's the one I'm going to come home with. Because I gotta take my father-in-law to the doctor, because nobody in Missouri is available to take him to the doctor. So I have to drive from Tennessee to St. Louis to take him. He's got an early next Wednesday morning doctor's appointment, and everybody else is busy. So I got to drive from Clarksville to St. Louis to take him to the doctor. So I'm going to leave out Tuesday so that I give myself plenty of time and don't like wear myself out, since Tuesday's my only day completely off. So I'm going to head up on Tuesday, and I'm going to stop at Micro Center. I'm going to grab a new computer and maybe some filament. And then take him to the doctor Wednesday morning. Then after his doctor's appointment, drive back to Clarksville, hopefully in time for my music stream. I believe Don is going to do the Tuesday morning stream, because I will not be able, because as soon as I drop my son off at school, I'm going to be heading to St. Louis and making a stop on the way in the Brentwood, Missouri Micro Center, and hopefully buying a computer. But yeah, this one has a 8th gen Core i5 and a 6 gig GeForce 1060 in it, and 16 gig of RAM. And it's the Intel Optane memory, so should be good stuff. And I believe it has, where'd it go? Yeah, a 250 gig solid state drive for the operating system, and a 1 gig storage drive, or 1 terabyte storage drive. So, with built-in wireless. At any rate, it should take care of all the things I needed to take care of. Get it back here on Wednesday, and then I hopefully will be able to get it all set up and ready to go for the Thursday morning stream. Because this one is just randomly turning off, and the stuff I've tested so far, it doesn't seem to be the power supply, and it's not updating itself or anything. So I'm thinking something is like shorting out on the motherboard, and when it does, it just dies. And then you can restart it. Ooh, they have an open box one from $720. Well, if they had the open box one, I'll buy that. Because I'll buy that, and then I'll spend the I'll buy that, and I'll spend the other $80 on filament. Because I do need some filament. Thingiverse Jeep dashboard. More likes for the Jeep. $24 downloads. And only 17 of those are the Jeep, so the Jeep is drawing some attention to the page, and then some other designs are getting some downloads on top of it. Yeah, I think if I were building a machine and budget wasn't as much of a concern, I think I would build a Threadripper. But budget is an issue, and that seems to be the most machine for the money that I've found. Who knows, I could get to Micro Center and they could have a better deal on, or as good a deal on something that's even better. You know, I'll look when I get there, but that one seemed to meet all the criteria I needed to meet. Which should make the streams better, because then with that video card I can do the GPU encoding. Because the video card I have now does not support GPU encoding for the stream. So it should make the stream better doing that, and have more processing power and more RAM, and just be better all the way around. Am I still in the red? No, I'm in the yellow now. Woo! I was searching for used computers locally, but had no luck. Oh, I don't want to make computers. I want to be... Time for the early morning search to see if there are any 3D printers available for sale. Not printers, just S. Put the S off. 3D printer. Yeah. No, nothing new. All right. So downloads are happening, views are happening. And when Roy Holly gets back from, he's currently out, I'll let him post the make for his. Morning, Vince. So yeah, we've accomplished what I set out to accomplish today. Anything beyond that is gravy now, because I didn't have any other things planned other than getting the VSV live. And Vince retracted a message. He was quick on that retraction too. I didn't even see what it was. Oh, excuse me. I need to print out the gas pump at some point too. Ah, misspelled. So yeah, that's the guard shack right there that I've been printing and just put up on Twitter. There's the door I still need to print, but everything else is done. And I have to paint my arm because I don't have multi-materials yet to have done it stripey and cool like that. Yeah, man, I would love to see what your mind comes up with for building a printer from scratch. We've seen some pretty amazing things come out of some pretty amazing makers. You know, we've seen James design and print a couple of printers and put them together and get them working. The one printed printer that he did, that he took to was it Earth, was really cool. And then the one that he did for the charity was cool for the charitable aspect of it. I don't think the printer itself turned out to be that good, but it was designed and printed and assembled in 24 hours, which is insane. And then we've seen what comes out of Glenn's mind when he sits down to design himself a printer, and we've seen the giant FK1 come to fruition. It is finished and is printing. He's just tweaking it now, trying to get it to print better. Morning, Rover. So I would be interested to see what Chris Riley's ideal of a DIY printer build is. And for Chris, for some reason, I envision something that the print volume's not that large, but the technological advancements of it are second to none. That's what I envision that Chris Riley would come up with. Mosquito hot end, duet Wi-Fi. Nothing but the best and brightest. Morning, Robbie Mac. Never ending cup. Ooh, that would be cool. Yeah, every option Marlin has. Now, what boards are out there that can support every option Marlin has? Because I know, like, Creality, you can't have very many options on their boards because their memory is too small to support more than one or two features at a time, so you have to pick and choose what you want. Is there a board out there that has the memory for everything? Mad Mike, I would say in most cases, yeah. In my case, no. A large printer for me is an absolute necessity, because without the S4 and now the Tornado, this guard shack would have taken me a week to print it all, one piece at a time. But because I was able to put all four walls on the S4 at the same time, which filled up almost the entire build volume, X and Y, of the S4. I did that in one 15-hour print. And then I did the floor and the roof at the same time on the Tornado, and got those done in one like 7.5-hour print. So I was able to knock out the guard shack in just, day and a half. And I did the yellow pylons on the X1, while the Tornado printed the gray pieces that those pylons were supposed to go in, but the Tornado had some layer shifts and some problems that prevented that from being a reality. So they ended up hot glued on. They still look okay. It'll be fine. I'll go back and reprint them at some point. But still, it gets the point across that I was trying to get across for the guard shack. Oh, and Chris, since I'm going to be stopping at Micro Center, there's a pie there that you can pick up like dirt cheap while you're there, right? That I could use to do octopi. because I really want to put Octopi on the S4, if possible. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll see if I can pick that up while I'm there too, if the budget allows after getting the computer things settled. It'll just depend on how much money I have at the time. Morning, Ben Craig. I tuned in and watched a few minutes of your video game stream last night, but was watching a movie with the wife by that point, and so I didn't have the sound on. So I don't know if on Facebook, if viewing time gives you anything, but I did tune in and watch for a while. Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. I had I had a C270 Logitech camera in my hand just the other day, and I ended up putting it down. I almost walked out the door with it. But they had a long line, and I didn't want to stand in line for a $20 webcam at Best Buy. When I went there to check out their open box computers, and I almost bought a computer there, but I missed out on it by literally minutes. And because when I got there, the guy in the blue shirt was already showing the computer to some guy, and I was like, that computer will work. It was a Core i5, but it was a 7th gen Core i5, and it only had 8 gig of RAM. And it was only $40 cheaper than the one that I'm looking at Micro Center that's an 8th gen with 16 gig of RAM. Oh, I would be in bad shape too if Micro Center was close, but the nearest Micro Center to me is 4 hours away. From Clarksville, the nearest two, there's one in St. Louis and one in Atlanta. Or no, not Atlanta. Nearest Micro Center to me is in St. Louis, and then there's a Fry's in Atlanta, which Fry's sells a lot of the same kind of stuff. Either way, it's 4 hours away. Fry's is 4 hours away, and Micro Center is 4 hours away. You don't just hop in your car for a leisurely 4-hour one-way trip someplace most of the time. But next Tuesday, like I said, I got to drive by there anyway, so I'm going to stop in. I'm going to stop in, and I'm in need of a computer, and would like to walk out of there with a Raspberry Pi and some filament, if budget constraints allow. My wife grew up in a town that was very, very small and very, very far from everything. She was an hour drive away from a Walmart or a McDonald's or anything like that. As far as I know, it must have passed, man. Oh, thank you, Salvatore. Salvatore? How do you say that? Is Salvatore or Salvatore? I know it just depends. Thank you for the subscription. Thank you for joining us. I'm not doing a lot of modeling this morning. This morning was about posting one of the things that I designed and have been sharing with my patrons for over a month now, and putting it on Thingiverse, so it is available to the public. Yeah, my wife grew up in Viburnum, Missouri. It's a town of 500 people. And you either work at the Doe Run Lead Mine, which is getting ready to shut down, is almost shut down, is near shut down. The logging company that's there, or you have a job at the Dollar General or the Casey's, because that's the only two like stores in town to support the town. Zimmy's gonna print the Jeep. Cool, man. Yeah, I think the kidney stone passed. I haven't felt anything from it in 2 weeks now. Everybody told me I would know when I passed it, but I don't think I know. So it's either still in there and just not moving. I have not went back to the doctor like I was supposed to follow up on that. How are you doing, Ed? Oh, you're getting sick. Oh no, man. That's not good. Yeah, True Tech, they do that when they're still in the kidney, but once they've started moving, they don't. So once it's moved out of the kidney and is in that narrow little tube, they don't do anything to break it up. They let you try to pass it yourself, or they have to go in and retrieve it, which does not sound pleasant. So it either hasn't moved in 2 weeks, or it passed sometime at some point and I didn't even notice. So I guess only the future will tell. Missouri. To I at the end. Missouri. Now I know a lot of people that are native to Missouri that say Missouri, but they also have much thicker accent than I do. But for the most part, Kansas City is a very accent neutral location. That is why before they shipped all the tech support jobs off to call center jobs off to India, which made no sense. A lot of call center jobs used to be in Kansas City, because Kansas City has such a neutral accent that it was easier for people to understand their dialect, regardless of what part of the country they were calling in from. So I Sprint built that big campus there, and I remember when that happened and a bunch of my friends went to work for Sprint. But yeah, Kansas City was determined to have the most neutral accent as a whole. So a bunch of call centers moved there so that people could plainly understand the people they were calling. And then for some reason, companies took a strong left turn on that and sent all the call center jobs to India, where you can't understand anybody. I had one time that I called. His accent was so thick, I couldn't understand him. I couldn't understand him. I said, "You're gonna have to get me somebody else. I can't understand a word you're saying." And he told me he couldn't send me to anybody else. And I said, "Well, I'm sorry. I pressed 1 for English and hung up." If you're gonna have a customer service job where you got to speak English, speak English. And don't tell me your name is Bob when it's clearly not. Gets on my nerves. You warped your mind sniffing filament. You're not supposed to sniff the filament. You're supposed to print the filament. You put it in the printer and print stuff with it. Don't sniff it. And don't print stuff like ABS in an enclosed space. It's in the air. That makes me think of, oh gosh, what's that comedian? Mike Birbiglia. And he talks about he hadn't had anything to eat, and he had stopped and got a sandwich, and he was getting on a plane. He got on the plane, and it was a chicken salad sandwich, and there was nuts in it. And he's trying to eat it, and the lady on the plane complains because she had a nut allergy. And the flight attendant came over to him and told him he couldn't eat the sandwich because there were people on board with a nut allergy. And he said, "But I'm eating the sandwich." And the flight attendant said, "But there are nuts in the air." He's like, "There are nuts in the air?" Oh. It was on one of his recent Netflix specials. It was funny. It was good stuff. Right. No ABS in enclosed spaces. No resin printers in enclosed spaces either. I'm still waiting to see exactly how safe. I know the Prusa SLA printer is got some more safety precautions in place, and it'd be interesting to see how much safer theirs is than somebody else's. Yeah, I've seen somebody wearing that. One of the streams. I forget what stream it was now. That was funny. How much time to print the Jeep? That's going to depend largely on several factors, just like anything else. It took me, once I got the S4, and I printed some parts on the A8 and some parts on the X1, because that was before I got the Ender 2 or the Tornado. It took me 3 days. But I'm also not home a lot. It took me 3 days to print the Jeep. But I put the frame on the S4, set it and forget it kind of thing. And then I could have gone faster if I would have trusted to print more than one part at a time. I could have printed like the front and rear clip and doors all at the same time on the S4. But I was afraid that if one of them failed, it would cause all of them to fail. So I did one part at a time. So it took me 3 days. And I printed all the stuff that I printed in black. I printed on the A8. I started off with the gray parts and printed all the gray parts on the S4, which took me the better part of a day and a half. And then I printed loaded the green filament and printed all the green parts. And that took me, another day and a half, and then glued it all together. Using the Mark III, it'll probably take some time because you will have to print, one piece at a time kind of thing. Because it's a sizable Jeep. It's pretty big. You can see there, it's good size. It is. In total length, about 260 millimeters long, and in total width, about 150 millimeters wide. So it's 260 by 150 in total size, with a total height about 125 millimeters or so, roughly. So it's a good size vehicle. The biggest part is the bottom frame, this piece underneath. That is the biggest piece. But I think the part that took the longest, well, no, the bottom frame took the longest. Second longest was the front hood area, and that is because of the orientation I wanted it in, because I wanted the layer lines running a specific way. Meant a whole bunch of support up underneath here. So it took a fair amount of time as well. I think I was 13 hours on this, and I think 11 or 12 hours on this. And then I think this was 8 or 9 hours for the back. The tires, I printed all 4 of them at the same time. I forget how long they took. The wheels, printing all 4 of them at the same time was, I think, like 4 hours. So yeah, there's some time involved in it for sure. And then when you get all the parts printed, you got to glue it. You got to glue it. The olive green that I used was C. Gaydon filament. Let me see if I can find that. It's a very, very nice olive drab. Mr. Buttram donated that to the cause. He sent that to me. It prints very, very well. At least I had a great experience with it. No problem. I had a great experience with it. It printed very, very well. And I'm still using it to print out stuff like this. It's shoulder-mounted missile launchers for a G.I. Joe. Never let the machines win. Mike is in the house. Yeah, I saw that. 3D Solutech has a green and a red filament available for Master Spool refills. And about a week ago or so, they posted about it. And the first orders they were including a Master Spool that was already printed out with your order. But that was a week or two ago. I don't know if they still are doing that. The price did not come down. That's the part that perplexes me the most. Is I thought not having to put it on a spool and supply spools was going to bring the price down, but it hasn't. Which I think is going to be the major hurdle for the Master Spool to take off. It is going to have to become more cost effective. Because unless you have a Master Spool already printed out, you've got to print one out, and so then it becomes a bigger hassle for the consumer. And if the consumer is going to have a bigger hassle, the consumer needs to be compensated for it by way of spending less money. Oh, you got the so you did order that, and you got okay. Yeah, they said for their first few orders they were going to be sending those out, which I have to imagine it was the ones that they printed out to test themselves. They printed them out to test them and make sure the design worked and make sure that their refills will work. And so you're probably getting the spools that they printed to test for themselves. And that's why they're only doing it including it with the first so many orders. Yeah, so I mean, it increases the hassle for the consumer, and if a consumer is going to put up with inconvenience, they're going to want to save money for that. The fact that 3D Solutech is $15 to $17 a roll regular, and it's still $15 to $17 a roll for the Master Spool, people are going to go, what? Why? Well, that's just my guess, Chris. My guess is they had printed out and printed out some spools to test it, and then when they were happy with it and decided it was ready to go, they're like, well, what are we going to do with all these now? We don't need them. We're done testing. Well, we'll give them away to the customers who buy first. That's my assumption. But you know what assuming does. Now, how different is their design other than them putting their logos in it from the original design Richard Horn came up with? Which he's totally cool guy. He was one of the first people that followed me on Twitter, and I had a conversation with that I kind of geeked out over him following me because I'm like, he's a known entity in the community, and someone who is well liked and well known within the community, and so I was like, him following me on Twitter and us having a conversation via direct messages and stuff, I thought was kind of cool. Super nice guy, and really, really bright. I mean, he's got his stuff together, man. And him starting the whole Master Spool initiative, I mean, it was all born out of him trying to do something positive for not just the community, but positive for the environment, positive, for the world. So I commend him on that highly. Cool, man. Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing that because I love I love 3D Solutex filament, and it's inexpensive and it prints really well, and its color is consistent, and that's more than I can say for some pricier filaments. So apparently their communication sucks though, because there've been a lot of people trying to ask them questions and get in touch with them, and they don't respond. Um, One guy that's been up their rear end has been that Keith developer guy. Which, if you see him on Twitter, morning Ben. He always seems to be trying to stir up trouble. He seems to like drama and like giving people a hard time. There's a group out there that he'd fit right in with. But I saw him tweeting at them the other day. Yeah, I saw him tweeting at them the other day that basically telling them they needed to prove they were in the USA and prove that. I'm like, why? Why do they need to prove that to you? They say they are. You can't just take them at their word there. I mean, why does it need to be proved? They have their filament. Their filament is available on Amazon and eBay and at decent prices. Why do you have to question it? Just buy it. Or don't. And shut up. Who cares? Yeah. Well, that's it, Ben. Haters gonna hate, and I'm sure I've had my visits from mine today, and I don't care because letting it get to you and getting involved with it just breeds more negativity. There's no point to it. There's no point to it. There's no point in um, getting yourself caught up in a whirlwind of negative energy and negative thought. And if you do that, if you let yourself get bogged down by negativity, negative things are going to happen in your life. That's all there is to it. You've got to keep your life positive. You got to keep the people around you positive, and surround yourself with positivity, and surround yourself with good people and a good situation, and good things are more likely to happen. For the most part, I mean, I know I didn't. My wife had just come home from St. Louis right before Chris gave away the printer on his printer giveaway stream. So I wasn't watching, but I was told later that Chris said his piece about the negativity out there, and the people spewing it, and I appreciate that. I surround myself with cats. No, I'm allergic, and my wife is deathly allergic. So surrounding her with cats would kill her. Yeah, I'm not even going to concern myself with the negativity anymore. I I allowed myself to get caught up in it for a brief moment, and And I realized one day that all it was doing was breeding negativity from me, and there's no sense in it. There's none. So yeah, I've said my piece on the issue, and I refuse to be bogged down by negativity and allow negative people that are trying to surround me to impact me. So I'm moving forward, and they can do whatever they want to, and if it brings them joy to their day to come to my video and give me a thumbs down, come to my video and give me a thumbs down. I don't care. It's still interaction in YouTube's eyes, and that's all that matters. Yeah, negativity does nothing good for anybody. And if you find joy in trying to drag others down and surrounding yourself with negativity, if you find joy in that, there's something wrong with you. And I'm not going to allow you to drag me down that road. A Lego. Oh, I love it. Oh, absolutely. This community, 99.9% of this community is fantastic. So I'm not going to waste my time on the 0.1% of the negative out there. Instead, I'm going to focus on checking out the really cool stuff that the other 99.9% are making, and support them in their content, and and move forward. Chris, have you seen that? What do you think of HE3D as a company? They've got a Delta that's huge and cheap, and I was assuming that huge and cheap is probably not good. It's probably a bad combination to be both huge and cheap. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I still want to get one of those Anycubic consoles, the Linear Plus. I do, but right now I got to get a computer first. That's an absolute must. Yeah, that what was it? The HE3D K280. It's 280 millimeters on the build platform and goes 600 millimeters in the height for like $300. So it's a huge Delta, and it's cheap, but that's probably bad. You get halfway up that enormous Z height, and screws and nuts start falling out of it everywhere. Start spraying plastic on the walls. Let me see if I can find it. HE3D K280. It's a little higher on GearBest. I found it on another site earlier for 300. I think it was AliExpress. That's true. That's true, Matt Johnson. but 600 millimeters up, even in a cone, is going to be still huge. I would like to at some point redesign a large space shuttle, inspired by, let's say that, inspired by the G.I. Joe Defiant. Because I don't like directly design my designs off of anybody's, but they can be inspired by somebody else's. I just want a link. Because you gave me a gigantic link. There we go. If that works, there's a link to a website at the 3D Printers Bay sale on the K280. Like I said, it's probably junk, but it's huge. It's not quite little monster size. But it's a third the price. What is the build volume on the little monster? I forget. It's 340 by 500. So this is 280, smaller. The circle's smaller, but 600. So taller than 100 millimeters taller than a TiVo little monster. So it's smaller circumference, but taller than a TiVo. At a third the price. They had it on Twitter. They had a link to, I think, AliExpress, who was having an 11/11 pre-order sale for $300 on it. That's kind of what I was thinking. So I think the AliExpress one, I couldn't find the AliExpress link, was even cheaper than the 3D Printer Bay one. But 280 by 600 for 300 and even $350. Like I said, it's a third the price of the TiVo little monster, and it's smaller this way, but 100 millimeters taller in the Z. But I haven't heard a lot about HE3D. I know they've been around for a while, but I don't see a lot of their printers getting reviewed. I think you meant next stream, Ben, not next Steam. Well, one thing I would think its rigidity is probably pretty bad, because a machine that size and it's 2020 extrusions. So I mean, that's, 2020 extrusions. The TiVo little monster's got those great big things, those big C channel things, and it's 100 millimeters shorter. Yeah, it says 2020 extruded aluminum structure at Mega 2560 and ramps plus control. Robust frame, 2020 extruded aluminum with acrylic supports for greater stability and true angles. For high accuracy prints with an 11-inch diameter build volume. Expandable at Mega 2560 and integrated ramps plus control board. Supports dual print heads, heated print bed, and upgraded Pro extruder to support exotic material. Easy to build and ready to print. No soldering required. All tools included. Auto Z calibration for easy bed level setup. Complete build video and tutorials. 4 nozzles, 2 rolls of filament. USB card. Or USB cable SD card. 4 wheeled carriages. Auto leveling. The machine itself is over 1 meter tall. The machine itself is 1,120 millimeters tall. But 280 by 600, that's huge. "24-volt with heated bed." And for an extra $100, you can add a dual extruder to it. I don't know, man. I'm really curious if it would work. Like I said, I haven't seen a lot of reviews or anything out there on any of HE3D's machines. Makes me curious. Oh no. That's no good, John. Vanished. You sure it just didn't get saved in another folder by mistake? If you know the name of the file, can you just type it in the search and see if it finds it somewhere else? That's weird. Where does everybody buy their lead screws? Because, you know, I've been still kicking around that whole Piper build, and I'm not sure if I should do the Piper 1 or the Piper 2. But if I did the Piper 1, I'd want to go big like Matt Snow did. So I'm not sure where you get 710 millimeter long lead screws. I can't seem to find them. Is it one of those things where you have to call somebody and custom order? Because the Piper 1, the 500 millimeter version, is designed to use a 710 millimeter lead screw. Matt had to change up his design because he ended up with 700 millimeter lead screws. So he didn't even get the 710 millimeter lead screws. Single start. Yeah, 700 plus, that is straight. Yeah, that would probably be the trick, huh? Um, Now Matt did get his Piper running eventually, didn't he? I never did watch the conclusion of that whole saga. I sat and watched many of his live streams while he was putting it together and testing stuff, but I never did see the end result. Does anybody know if he got that thing printing? So it might be something to just call somebody like Masumi or Open Builds and just talk to their customer support and customer service and sales and tell them what I'm looking for. And see if they laugh at me and hang up the phone, or if they say, yeah, we can do that for you. Well, I've seen a lot of people building stuff out of the aluminum square tubing that you can get at like Home Depot. There's a guy that's building a, what is it, 1300 millimeter printer that he's building out of the aluminum square tubing. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, Chris. Because he built that CR10 Gigantor, which he had printing really well. Um, for those that's not familiar with the project, Ron, the Happy Extruder, he took two CR10 S5s and grafted them together. So it was 500 millimeters on the Y, 1 meter on the X, and then he put 1 meter tall build volume on it too. So it was 1 meter by 500 millimeters by 1 meter. It's huge. And he had it printing pretty good. Slow. He had to print very slow. I think last time I talked to him about it, he was printing like 30 millimeters a second. So if you're talking about printing something that would take up the full build volume of that machine at 30 millimeters a second, how many weeks you got that you pray for no filament snags, no power outages, no. Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Moving large amounts of mass and the inertia that those stepper motors have to accommodate for. Now, would going from a NEMA 17 to another motor help with any of that? I mean, like a NEMA 23 or whatever. Would that help moving a 1 meter by 500 millimeter bed? Amazon has 800 millimeter lead screws. Cool. Because you get those and just cut them down to 710. Yeah, belt stretch and vibration. So again, a lot of it is going to just go to slowing things way down, maybe using a larger reinforced belt, maybe a larger stepper motor. No, absolutely not. No, that's something to think about. Hmm. Take a more brilliant engineering mind than mine. Which I think is why Glenn on his FK1 is better off doing what he's doing, and the bed doesn't move. So you don't have anything that's creating a large moving mass. You just have potentially long travel distances. Yeah, I think if you did have a large moving bed like that, if you could make it a PLA only machine and not put a heated bed on it, and then maybe um, just like an acrylic or a fiberglass sheet to print on, maybe. Then you could have a fairly light but large build surface. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter yesterday. That was funny. It's hilarious. Ooh, ball screws. they're all gearing up for all the Chinese websites are gearing up for their 11/11 Singles Day sales. Wow. Linear motion per motion. I've often wondered why we don't see someone, more people anyway. I know it's kind of what 3D platforms does. Um, the way that they build their 3D printers are more like a CNC machine is built. And I'm curious why we don't see more of that. Why you don't see somebody building a 4 foot by 8 foot basically CNC table and converting it to a 3D printer. Yeah, because I mean, essentially, 3D printers are just CNC machines, but they're additive manufacturing instead of subtractive. Right. Well, because um, some CNCs have Z-axis, just short Z-axis. So, yeah, I mean, that's essentially what 3D platforms does. Um, 3D platform. Uh-oh. 3DP. There we go. Let's go to screen share. As you look at their printer design, 3D platforms, the way they do it, and I mean it's just a CNC table, but this travels up and down. And they're huge, huge printers. There you go, Chris Riley. Build something based off that architecture. I think their definition of affordable is a little different than my definition of affordable, though. Print volume. 1 meter by 1.5 meters by 700 millimeters. You have to build a room to go with it. Come on, man. You got, you got the basement. You got the basement for it. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, Mad Mike. I appreciate it. We're only running a little bit longer anyway. But, I'm sure someone who knew how to construct one of these could construct one of these for way under that price. Now, I'm sure some of the pricing goes into that really fancy cabinet it's mounted on and everything. One meter by 1 meter by 700 millimeters. 1 meter by 1 meter by 500 millimeters is 29,000. Oh, there we go. 18,000 for 1 meter by 1 meter by 500 millimeters. It's got a volcano extruder on it. Oh, wow. A parametric design 3D printer. That's crazy. Oh, and they sell Ultimakers on their website. Upcoming printers, the Work Center 500. .4 meter by 2.8 meter by 700 millimeter build height. Yeah, I mean, looking at these machines are very, very much at their core just a CNC machine, just with a Z-axis. Right, all that sweet tornado space. And Ender 2 space. Joe Paddock wanted to know if you had any other printers you were getting rid of. I told him you sent me a list, but I forgot what else was on it. But yeah, I mean, it's a very intriguing design. So I'm not sure, why we don't see more people attempt this type of build. I know it wouldn't be cheap, but I mean, is the reason we don't see it is because it's not, is just because it's big and no one has a space, or do we not see it because it's a flawed design in some way? I'm curious. I mean, I don't have the room or the money to build something like this, because I know that right. So they probably have some sort of proprietary control board and all that. Says their controller is a 32-bit 120 megahertz ARM Cortex M4 processor. This is the one that the 200 series was the one that popped up on Craigslist. Who was it? The 3D printing trucker, Bill, was talking about it, and it popped up for like 10 grand. Hmm. $50,000 machine. Anyhow, well, let's one more check back on Thingiverse and wrap ourselves up here. You had 34 views, 31 downloads, 4 likes, 3 collects, and 1 watch. And one more time, for anybody who missed it earlier, there's the Thingiverse link to the VSV, which is now available on Thingiverse. So we're getting close down to the nitty-gritty of this. I'm going to end this here in just a few minutes. I appreciate you guys hanging out. All those who downloaded the VSV, thank you. And I look forward to seeing some people printing it out. And seeing what people do with it. Roy Holly did some amazing things with color change at layer height, and then it'll be interesting to see some people maybe possibly convert it into a multicolor model somewhere down the line, and some of the multi-material users out there start doing some things with it. That'd be neat. Mike Wiley is going crazy because he can't find any $10 filament. Oh no, it's fine. He knows that I end at 10 o'clock, so he's just getting things geared up to take over. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate y'all supporting the project and downloading, and looking forward to seeing what y'all print with it, and some of the crazy colors and stuff that'll happen out there, because I was blown away with what I saw Roy do. And I'll go hang out. We can all go hang out with Clyde over on PT3D, since he's going to be streaming. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Like I said, no stream Tuesday for me. Don is going to pick up the slack there because I will be traveling to St. Louis. But yeah, y'all hang out with Mike Whaley tomorrow. Let's go hang out with Clyde today if you're not busy and have time to do so. And Oh, thank you, John. I appreciate that. That's some exclusive company to be in, man. Because Chris and Walter are awesome, and I'm just no, I'm just me. Um, I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome, and we will see you back on this channel in 1 week from today. Hopefully, I'll be ready to go on some modeling stuff. I'll be putting my head around all that, the next design. And then the plan is 1 week from Tuesday, I want to do my first tutorial Tuesday. So I got a little time to start lining up some tutorials. So appreciate y'all, and thank you guys for hanging out. And we'll see y'all in the next one.